Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Read Aloud with Miss Cope. Today is Tuesday, and it is May 12th. Yesterday was a little bit of a rough day on my run. Sprained my ankle really bad. It is still very swollen, but let the teaching go on. Favorite part of the day, read aloud. We are reading It Ain't So Awful, Falafel by Feroze Dumas. We left off on the chapter called Mexican Heaven. I wonder what we will learn about the Iranian culture today. On the way to our first Girl Scouts meeting a few weeks later, I start telling Carolyn stories about babysitting David. He's such an interesting boy, I say. We have an expression in Persian, Nor mevez. Nor is an unripe grape, and mevez is a type of raisin. That's David. He's both young and old at the same time. I love that expression, Carolyn says. By the way, how much do you get paid? So another expression for that, young but old, I think with the American culture is that kid has an old soul. How much do you get paid? $1 an hour. Is that it? She sounds shocked. What do you mean? I asked. Who came up with that amount? Mrs. Klein said, how about $1 an hour? And I said, that would be great. First of all, you should never answer right away, Carolyn says, clearly annoyed. Secondly, you should have asked for $1.25. If she asks you to do dishes or take care of any pets, then that's an extra 25 cents for each chore. You need to ask for more next time. I make $1.50 an hour, sometimes $2 with add-ons. I don't know. She's really nice, and I don't think I can ask for more now. I've already babysat a bunch of times. That seems kind of rude, I say. Rude, repeats Carolyn. That's called business. Plus, there's college. You are saving for college, aren't you? No. Well, you better start. You have 6 years. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It's going to be here before you know it. I never thought about paying for college, but Carolyn's right. There's no way I'm going to ask for more money from Mrs. Klein, though. I'll just save everything I earn from now on. Carolyn's a smart cookie. The Girl Scout troop in Newport Beach is huge, with about 80 girls. Thankfully, Original Sydney is not one of them. It's bad enough that I have PE with her twice a week, where she now pretends I don't exist. It's better than that first day when she laughed at me, but I still can't believe I spent 6 weeks listening to her horse tales and shedding an entire layer of skin for nothing. When I told the story to Carolyn, she said, you shed that friendship like you shed your skin. I like that. It made the whole sorry episode seem less pathetic and more poetic. During the break, I started talking to a girl named Rachel, whom I recognized for 2 of my classes. I heard you're new this year, so how do you like Newport Beach so far? She asks. I like it, I answer. It's getting more fun as I made friends. I moved here in 3rd grade, and I remember how hard it is to be the new kid. We should do something sometime, she suggests. We should, I agree, and we exchange phone numbers. The Girl Scout leader, Mrs. Starr, and Miss Woods seem really nice. They tell us all about the Girl Scout Jamboree, camping trips, and a place called Goodwill where we will be volunteering. I have never been camping, so I'm more excited about that than anything else. Carolyn knows a lot of the girls at the meeting since she was born and raised in Newport. I can't help but think how much easier it is to live in one place your whole life. I will never know that feeling. Before she drives me home, Mrs. Williams asks if I would like to have dinner with them. It's make your own taco night, she says. Yes, I answer. My parents and I love tacos at Taco Bell. I just have to call my mom from your house. When we arrive, Mrs. Williams sets up the dinner table. Well, I call my mom. I'm 100% sure she's going to say yes, because I am 100% sure that dinner at our house is something cold and out of a box. Somehow, my mom has decided that breakfast food works just as well for dinner, so now our pantry looks like the cereal aisle at El Rancho Market. I definitely prefer tacos. She says yes and reminds me to thank the Williamses as if I would forget. Make your own taco night is basically Mexican heaven and a million times better than Taco Bell. Carolyn, Matt, and their parents and I sit around the dining room table, which is covered with all kinds of ingredients. Matt starts telling us about his latest debut tournament as we pass the plates around. Mr. Williams is asking Matt all kinds of questions. He was also on the debate team when he was in high school. I'm trying to listen to the questions, but I'm also trying not to miss any of the ingredients. The meal definitely requires concentration because you have to add the filling in the right order. I put meat, lettuce, tomato, cheese, onion, salsa, guacamole, extra cheese, and extra salsa into my taco shell. Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. Mine were more stuff than anyone else's, but I'm still hungry. So Tuesday, sometimes my family has Taco Tuesday. My favorite. I like the soft shells. In Iran, eating a lot of food at someone's house is the polite thing to do. The hostess keeps insisting you eat more even after the top button of your pants is popped and you're laying on the floor regretting the fourth helping. My dad had told me that in America, hosts don't push food on you. Still, I'm hoping Mrs. Williams will say, "Have another, you barely ate anything." She doesn't. After my third taco, I asked Mrs. Williams how she made this dinner. "Oh goodness, I can't even call this cooking. It's really just assembling. Except for the ground beef, which you just cook in a pan," she says. "You can buy all the ingredients at El Rancho Market right near your house." My mom loves these make-it-yourself meals, Matt explains. If you stick around long enough, you'll see that she has a whole menu of meals where we actually have to do all the work, but she gets all the credit. "Excuse me, Matthew," Mr. Williams interjects. "Would you like to cook dinner from now on? Then you'll be allowed to complain about your mother's dinners." Matt doesn't say anything. "So how do you bend the taco shell without breaking them?" I ask. They all laugh. It's the first time I have made them laugh, and it feels nice, not at all embarrassing, but I don't know what's so funny. "The shell comes in a box already bent," Carolyn says. "Isn't it obvious?" "No," I say, "it's like grasshopper pie." "Like what?" she asked. One time I asked my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Goodspeed, if there are any grasshoppers in grasshopper pie. She laughed too, but there are apples in apple pie and pecans in pecan pie, so why not grasshoppers in grasshopper pie? To me it makes sense. "Good point," says Mrs. Williams. After we finish eating, she stands up and starts to clear the table. "It just so happens that we have make-your-own sundaes for dessert," she announces. "No complaints here," exclaims Matt. "Didn't think so," quips Mrs. Williams with a chuckle. She sets up a round tray on the table. "Now, Cindy, here's something you might not have seen yet. This tray, which turns like this, is called a Lazy Susan." She starts setting up little bowls of chopped nuts, candy toppings, chocolate sauce. "Lazy Susan," I repeat. "I wonder who Susan was," says Matt. "Probably the inventor's wife," says Mr. Williams, who then became his ex-wife, adds Mrs. Williams, and everyone laughed. So much happiness in this house. I wish my mom laughed. I have a sudden thought. "Mrs. Williams, there are no Iranians here, and my mom doesn't have any friends. Do you think you can do something with her? You need to know that she does not speak English, play tennis or golf, and she does not hike." "Of course," Mrs. Williams says, handing each of us a napkin. "I'll invite her to the next PTA meeting. She'll meet lots of nice people volunteering, and she'll pick up some English too." So glad I asked. Next chapter is called Pistachio. As soon as the Williamses drop me off, I tell my mom the good news, but I can tell from the frown on her face that she doesn't think it's such good news. She said she doesn't want to do anything with anyone until she learns English. Plus, she's still mad at me about the pool key. Uh-oh, they still haven't found the pool key. "But you can learn English by talking with Americans. It's better practice than just watching people with coffee makers and dining room sets on Let's Make a Deal," I say. "I need to learn English first," she repeats. "That makes no sense." "It makes sense to me," she insists. "The adults that you would meet are really nice. They don't care if your English isn't perfect," I assure her. "I'm not interested," my mother says, and leaves the room. "You have to learn English, my man," I yelled after her. "I don't want to be your translator anymore." I hear her bedroom door slam. I don't know what to do. My mother is so difficult, and whenever I try to help her, she doesn't listen. I know her life would be so much better if she made a little effort. Now I have to tell Mrs. Williams, who has been so nice to me, to forget our conversation. I call Carolyn. Can you please tell your mom that my mom is too busy to go to PTA meetings, but thank you very much for the offer. How does your mother know that she'll be too busy for PTA meetings when she doesn't even know the dates yet? Carolyn asked. Well, I say, trying to think of how to explain this. In Iran, we study plants. We learn that some plants grow in certain places, but not in others. That's why Iran has the world's best pistachios, but not pineapples. You could say my mom is like a pistachio. Pistachios only grow in California, Carolyn points out. Not my mom. Right then and there, I give up trying to find a friend for my mother. Next chapter. Aloha, polar bear. The day before we left Compton, when my dad and I were taping shut the packed boxes, I said, Baba, do you think Mama will be happier in Newport Beach? He didn't answer right away. Ever since we moved to America, my mom spent a lot of time being sad. She didn't want to move here for the first time, and even though it was only for 2 years, for months before we left her, 3 sisters would come over every day, and they would just sit together, drink tea, and cry and cry and cry. I didn't understand why, since we were going to come back the whole 2 years in Compton, my mom was sad. She didn't even try to like it. My dad planned for weekends for us, like going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival, the Cloverdale Citrus Fair, and the Palm Spring Date Festival. But nothing really worked. My mom didn't even try the garlic ice cream or date shakes. I love seeing all those places, but it didn't make a difference for her. My dad told her she could get whatever clothes she wanted from the Sears catalog, but even that worked. But not even that worked. Then we went back to Iran, and she was a little happier, but after a year, my dad got another assignment, so we moved back to Compton. And it was the same old thing. My mom watched TV all day and didn't have any friends. But when we were moving to Newport Beach, I still hoped maybe things would change. After a long pause, my dad finally said, you have to be patient and understand that it will take time for your mother to adjust to living here. It's much easier being American in Iran right now than being Iranian and American. What do you mean, I asked. In Iran, there are 50,000 Americans. What are they doing there? They work for oil, gas companies, the military, the universities, you name it. Plus, there's about 200 American students at the Tehran American School. I'm the only Iranian at my school. It's not lonely for Americans in Iran. They can see movies in English. Can you imagine if we could see movies in Persian in California? And there are lots of clubs for people who speak their language. It's so much easier. They have a community. Key community. In the total of 3 years we have lived in America, we ran into other Iranians only once. We were at a mall and suddenly we heard people speaking Persian. That had never happened before. Speaking Persian in America is like speaking a super secret language that no one understands. It's handy, except that my mom is always telling me in front of everyone to stand up straight, don't have a third cookie, and other generally annoying stuff. So we went up to the people at the mall and asked them in Persian if they were Iranian. They were so shocked. It was like 2 polar bears running into each other in Hawaii. You were like me. How did you end up here so far away from home? I was so relieved because I thought this meant my mom would finally have a friend, but they said they were just visiting California on vacation. We invited them to our house the next weekend anyway. I hadn't seen my mom that happy in a long time. She made kebabs and rice. I told her we should serve Kentucky Fried Chicken with biscuits and coleslaw since that would be more special for them. My mom said that was the most ridiculous thing she had ever heard. I know why she thought that. If you are Iranian and you invite someone to your house, your food must be homemade. Persian and perfect. Food is the most important part of our everyday Iranian life. Let's say you're invited to someone's house for dinner, and let's say this person shelters orphans and also discovers the cure for malaria. But the rice is not good. The next day, everyone will be talking, that rice is terrible. The rice was horrible. How can she live with herself? And Iranians never forget. You can't say my Aunt Jilla's name without someone saying, you mean the one who burned her rice? That happened before I was born, and even I know about it. I also told my mom that instead of fruit for dessert, we should serve Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies and Baskin Robbins ice cream, genuine American food. But my mom gave them watermelon, which is the most common dessert where I come from. Oh. I was certain they would have liked my idea better, but everyone in the world has tried watermelon, but Baskin Robbins rainbow sherbet, that's something they would have remembered forever. My mom never listens to me. All right, we're going to leave off on that chapter. So again, we are learning more and more about the Iranian culture. We also learned that Zomorod's mother is quite lonely, you know, without a community with people like her. She's feeling very sad and probably secluded. All right, so thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. Work hard on your schoolwork today, 5th graders, and I will see you for morning meeting and math class. Everyone else, thanks for watching again. Toodles, thank you. Mwah.